Welcome back to Logan Rando Aquascaping. Today, I want to get kind of cerebral. Today, I want to talk about how to learn and actually master the concepts of aquascaping. But before we get started, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for lots more cool content like this. Now let's get started. So when you're first getting into this hobby, it can be really overwhelming. And that pretty much goes for all hobbies. There's so much to learn, there's so much to read up on, and there's so much to get experience with. But with aquascaping specifically, there's a lot of science and biochemistry and complicated equipment that can really overwhelm you. That's why it's really important to sort of take a methodical approach. And I have a few tips for you when you're learning things that I believe very strongly are gonna help you actually master and solidify these concepts. So when it comes time to actually build your own aquascape, you'll have the background and the knowledge to really ensure success. So tip number one has to do with managing the amount of material that you attempt to learn at once. In our society, we're pretty much inundated with information. In the internet age, you can pretty much learn any single thing on your phone. So it can be really overwhelming when you're diving into a new learning endeavor and you don't really know where to start. This is where breaking up the material that you're learning into little manageable chunks is really important. And this technique is actually called chunking. I first learned about it from my guitar teacher. So when you're first getting into aquascaping, probably on your to-do list of things to learn are CO2, fertilizers, the different species of fish you want to keep, lighting, how lighting actually works. And instead of overwhelming yourself and attempting to learn all of that at once, break things up into chunks. Let's say you're looking at lighting and you want to understand how lighting works because you want to make an educated decision when you're purchasing a light. Spend a little bit of time working on each concept individually. So maybe one night you really read up on PAR. What does PAR mean? What's the application when it comes to the planted aquarium hobby? Does PAR actually matter? What does it stand for? Really master it before moving on to say something like CRI or PER. Because if you read up on all of those at once, your brain is going to get overwhelmed and you'll be able to take in all that information, but your brain most likely won't store it in that permanent hard drive. Think about when you're studying for a test and you cram the night before. Your brain takes everything in, it saves it for the test, and then you forget everything the next day. So don't do that with aquascaping. Chunk your material into little digestible bits, master it, understand it, and then only move on when you have that foundation. Tip number two is about testing your knowledge before moving on to new topics. And in my opinion, the best way to test your knowledge is to teach it to somebody. I remember when I was first learning about CO2, this is maybe 6 or 7 years ago, I just sat down in front of an iPhone and I tried to explain it and I recorded it. And when I watched it back, I realized, this isn't very good. So I read up on my knowledge gaps and I was able to explain it better and better. I would try and explain a concept like CO2 or fertilizers or how lighting works to your significant other or a really close friend. And if they know absolutely nothing about the aquarium hobby and they come out of that conversation understanding a key topic, you'll know that your brain fully understands it. Until you can teach something yourself in the most basic terms and meet that learner in the middle, you yourself don't fully understand it. And I really stand by that. Tip number three involves implementing experiential learning. So while a lot of concepts in aquascaping are scientific and theoretical, a lot of other concepts are more artistic. Let's use trimming plants, for example. You can read up about trimming plants all you want and propagating plants, and that'll really give you a good foundation. But until you get into your tank and you actually grow some Rotala H. Ra and trim it and observe and see the results, you're gonna have a hard time fully grasping how it works. And where experiential learning is really gonna serve you well is through the planting process and through creating compositions in aquascaping. These are things that you wanna have a good theoretical working foundation of knowledge around, but you just have to get your sleeves wet and you just have to do these things many times. Every single plant you keep, every time you kill it, trim it, propagate it, grow it to success, you sort of unlock a new color in your palette of painting in the aquascaping world. So it's really important that you just get in there and experiment and try different things. There's a famous indie director, Robert Rodriguez, who's fairly mainstream now, but when he first started off, He just did stuff. He just made stuff. He grabbed all his family and cousins and friends and they made stuff. And he has a fairly famous quote. I'm going to paraphrase it. It says that all directors have 10 bad films in them, and it's to your advantage to get those bad films out of your system as quick as possible. I would apply that same exact technique for aquascaping. Every planted aquarium hobbyist / aquascaper, you've probably got 10 lousy tanks in you. It just means that they're not your full potential and you're gonna make those beginner mistakes. So just do a lot of scapes as quick as you can, get that experiential learning under your belt, and you're gonna move up really, really quick. So that's about all the time we have for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's a little bit different from my usual format, but I'm somebody that is constantly learning new things. As I mentioned earlier, I'm learning guitar right now, and I'm really sort of thinking about how we learn and how to efficiently learn. And I've picked up a lot of awesome techniques from my guitar teacher, so I wanted to pass some of those on to you guys. Let me know down below in the comments what your thoughts are on the learning process. What really helped you most when you were learning these complicated concepts? This has been Logan with Logan Rando Aquascaping, and I'll see you guys and gals next time.